Hello, MCU fans. Today we're going to take a look at when Thor Love and Thunder fits in the MCU timeline. Of course, Love and Thunder is now streaming on Disney Plus, so we can watch it for any additional details we might have missed when the movie came out in the theaters. And of course, by being on Disney Plus, that means it shows up in their timeline. So let's take a look and see if we can figure out when Thor Love and Thunder happens in the MCU timeline. So first of all, we want to look and see, where does Disney Plus say it happens? Well, Disney Plus has it placed at the very end. It's the last thing on the timeline after She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel. So we know that Ms. Marvel happens in September of Kamala's junior year, in September of 2025. So that would mean Thor can happen anytime after September or during even September of 2025. But I think we can place it a little more using a little logic on some things that are soon coming out. We're going to hopefully have the Halloween special. They haven't talked much about it, but I'm betting we're going to learn more over D23. Hopefully they have some announcements. That's a Halloween event. And then, of course, there's the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which will be more of a Christmas timeframe. So since it's highly unlikely that the Guardians special is going to happen in 2026, December of 2026, we can say that with pretty much confidence that it's going to be in December of 2025. And of course, it's after the Guardians left Thor's side in Thor Love and Thunder. So that would reasonably place Thor in somewhere in between the months of September and December of 2025. Now, when that Halloween special does get placed, it'll either be before or after Thor, and that'll maybe help us a little more on figuring out the specific month. But I think there are some other facts that can get us down to the specific month for the movie. So let's look at Thor's timeline. And other than Thor Love and Thunder itself, all these dates are pretty well established. I mean, you can see when Thor comes out in Avengers, Thor Dark World, Age of Ultron, Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame. So these dates are all pretty well established. So let's look at some of the facts in the movie and see if we can't place Thor Love and Thunder a little closer. So first of all, Jane, when talking about their breakup, says it was 3 or 4 years ago. And Thor comically says, no, it was 8 years, 7 months, and 6 days. But there is something really important we learned from that. Notice the difference in time between their two estimates. It's about 5 years. Well, that means pretty clearly Jane was blipped. So Jane is out of pocket, therefore, during the time frame from Infinity War to Endgame, because she was gone. And it is interesting. That kind of shows the way the blip works. It's like those years just don't exist. You didn't exist during that time, as far as you knew. So that's very interesting. But also we can take Thor's breakup time and use that to really narrow some things down. First of all, we know the breakup occurred sometime between Age of Ultron, when Thor mentioned they were still dating, and Thor Ragnarok, when the ladies that saw him on the street were saying, hey, sorry, Jane dumped you. And of course, he's like, no, I did the dumping. But regardless, we know the breakup is somewhere in that time frame. Well, if we take additionally the fact that we know that Thor Love and Thunder is sometime between September and December of 2025, based on its placement in the timeline, then if we go back 8 years and 7 months, then we can tell that breakup happened sometime between February and May of 2017. And that kind of makes sense, because in the movie, it sure looked like, by his hairstyle and such, that it was getting closer to Thor Ragnarok. He kind of had the long, wispy hair in front and in back. So that makes sense. They would be sometime between February and May. And it wouldn't really be real close to the Ragnarok movie, because if you remember, in Ragnarok, he spent a lot of time searching for the stones and then ended up going and confronting Surtur. So, February to May timeframe makes sense for that breakup. But there's another very important fact we learned, and that's that Jane says 6 months ago, after she took a blood test, which, by the way, was dated on April 30th, that's when she came to find Mjolnir, and that's where she got the power, became the mighty Thor. So 6 months prior to the movie, that's when that occurred. So a lot of good information there, right? Well, first of all, if she had an April 30th blood test, then that means on April 30th of 2024 or 2025 would have been the point when she would have seen that blood test and then got that idea to head to New Asgard and pick up, or not necessarily pick up, but just check out Mjolnir, meow meow. We'll just go with meow meow. That's so much easier to say. Anyway, to see if she could get any of its healing powers that she was reading about. So we know, though, it couldn't have been April 30th of 2024 because that would be much more than 6 months from September to December 2025. And she basically was saying it was 6 months prior to the time of the movie that all this occurred. So we can say for sure it was April 30th of 2025, which is 6 months earlier. But something else is interesting. If it was 6 months after April 30th, then that would mean we're talking about November of 2025, because 6 months after April 30th would be, potentially October 30th, but she needs some travel time. She took the blood test on April 30th, and then she headed to New Asgard and had the encounter with Mjolnir. So very likely it's November. And in that case, that would mean, theoretically, it's happening after the Werewolf by Night Halloween special. We'll see whether that all pans out. But very likely we're talking November now. And if we're talking November, then we can actually place their breakup in April of 2017, because that's 8 years, 7 months, and 6 days-ish before November of 2025. So that's kind of interesting. We know when their breakup was. Then one other little fun fact, that if you look at an Easter egg in Spider-Man No Way Home, on the news ticker, while they were talking about Mysterio and the London attack, there's a little ticker down there that says political turmoil continues in New Asgard. And of course, the beginning of No Way Home was in July of 2024, picking up right after Far From Home ended. So that would mean that the news ticker was reporting on something happening in July of 2024, but also that would mean it's before Jane traveled to New Asgard. Maybe it doesn't matter per se, but it's just kind of interesting to put that in perspective. But so, bottom line is, the movie takes place in November of 2025, using all the different facts that they've given us. And then very likely we'll see the Guardians special coming out in December of 2025. Now, Moon Knight, just as a point of reference too, Moon Knight is April of 2025, according to Disney+, which would mean that if Gore would have killed any of the gods in Moon Knight, which many have theorized, naturally theorized that did happen, then that would have meant Gore's rampage had been going on for, 6 months or so, which is also believable. It's hard to tell from the movie just how long he had been out hunting the gods, but on the off chance that Marvel does canonize the theories that some of those gods were killed by Gore, then that would work out as well. But anyway, there you have it. It's been a very interesting movie. I've not really seen one quite like this that gives so many details on where to place it. But November 2025, that's what we're going to go with for now, and we'll just see where things land once the Werewolf by Night special and the Guardians special show up. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can like the video, you can subscribe. There's more videos you can check out, and we can all continue to enjoy the ever-growing, ever-changing Marvel Cinematic Universe.